Okay, so the last class we learned, in order to be permitted to take the pot that you took off the blech and put it back onto the blech, there are conditions that we need to keep. So if you could check in your notes, what are those conditions? You remember what those conditions are?
Remains we all transfer it to another vessel and then back into the original vessel. Has to be fully.
And we're following that? Yeah.
Remain in contact with the item that was running with the intended.
You have to like keep your hand on it.
Right, keep your hand on it. Huh?
Fully cooked.
Fully cooked,
You can't like transfer it to another pot.
another pot. Great. And we get that? Yeah. Good. Now, what happens if you forget to put a blech before Shabbos? There's no blech. Come to Shabbos, there's no blech. Got to put a blech. Like, want to take the food off the fire, put it back onto the fire. So what do you do?
It can't go directly back onto the water source, but it can go near.
You go near the fire.
Like,
Correct. You can put back near the fire. You're not putting on the fire, near the fire. It's already cooked. But I want to put on the fire. Is there anything I could do if I forgot to put a blech before Shabbos? Anything I'm allowed to do on Shabbos?
Wait, if you forgot to
Put the blech.
the metal piece on top of the fire that the fire is on, are you allowed to put the metal piece on top or no?
That's what I'm asking.
Are you allowed to put that on Shabbos or no?
What do you think? What's your guess? What is everyone thinking? Could you put a blech on the fire on Shabbos? But the blech was not there before Shabbos. Is that a problem? Could you put it on and does it work? It wasn't there before Shabbos.
But you need to put like also the pan like with the food, so it's a problem. Because maybe like the food can be leaked or something like
Is
this.
what?
The food can be like leaked or whatever, like the chicken could be like,
Not cooked?
no, but like.
No, it's
sometimes-
cooked.
I know, but like, it's not like, we have like the leaked, like, can just,
The liquid is going to become cold, you say?
no, because we're not allowed to put food with liquid in the, during Shabbos, so.
But you're returning it, take the pot off the fire and putting it back. We have all the conditions.
No, but if you.
We just don't have a blech.
blech.
You want to return, the pot is on the fire. You want to take it off, put it back, but there's no blech over there. So you're going to keep all the conditions, but you just don't have a blech. So what do you do about that condition about the blech? That's what I'm asking. What do you get what I'm asking?
Yes, but whatever.
No, so you can't put it back on the fire, you put it near the fire.
But I want to put it on the fire. Can I put the blech on the fire? What's your guess? What would you guess? I'm asking, could I take up the blech and put it onto the fire, Charles? What would you say? Say what you think. You can take a guess. Yes, no.
It's a 50-50 chance.
It's 50-50. Could be yes, could be no. Let's be safe. The answer is yes. You can put a blech on the fire, Charles. A blech is not muktzah. It's a sheet of metal. And it's made to cover the fire. It's not like you're doing something where you take something that's muktzah, that's not designated. So you can put the blech on the fire. But to put back the pot onto the fire, you have to keep your hand on it. So it's not a one-man job.
So you need to.
You need two people, because you're gonna take the pot off the fire, and then you're gonna put the blech, how you put the blech with your foot, you keep the blech onto the fire. So you need another person to put the blech on the fire, and then you can put it back, okay? Now, what if you took the pot off the fire, yeah, blech, everything is good, you took the pot off the fire, and you were planning to put it back, by mistake, you took your hand off. Are you allowed to put it back? This is the answer. You took your hand off.
Because part of it has to do if it destroys the unmarried Shabbos. And if that's the only food you have to eat.
Okay, so let's elaborate on that. It's good point. Generally, if something is prohibited, we don't say, oh, you're Shabbos. If you're not allowed to do it, you're not allowed to do it. But when it comes to the conditions, there's three of the conditions. These three conditions. Oida, in English maybe. Actually, it's easier like this, it's shorter. Beyondai, in your hand. Daitoi, it's your intention to return it. These conditions, there's also another condition if you transfer to another pot, it's also the same, but it's not so practical in terms of we're discussing something happened by mistake. So look at the board here. These two conditions, that yes, that be in your hand, you have to have intention to return, those conditions are debatable, which means there are two opinions if you need those conditions or not. The halacha is you should keep those conditions. But if you do not have those conditions, there is room for leniency, which means if you wish, you may be lenient. It's more ideal to be strict. If you're able to, it's good to be strict. In terms of it's good to be strict, but you have the option. If it was totally prohibitive, there's no blech, we're not going to say Eirik Shabbos. Eirik Shabbos, no. Now, just to point out, it's not so practical what I'm going to say now, but just to give you a complete Indian over here, and that is that if you take the pot off the fire before Shabbos and you want to put it back on Shabbos, then you must keep all these conditions. It's more hypothetically, you took it off before Shabbos and you holding on to it, you have intention, whatever. Now you want to put it back on Shabbos, so it wasn't there on Shabbos. That's when everyone says you must keep all the conditions. But let's discuss more practically. Took it off on Shabbos, you forgot, you took your hand off, or you didn't have intention. Or you took it off, your hand is on it, but you weren't planning to put it back because everyone is here. You don't need to put it back. No one is coming late. And then you find out someone's coming later. Now you decide, let me put it back. So if you wish, you may be lenient, like you mentioned, Eirik Shabbos. If it affects Eirik Shabbos, you have the option to be lenient and say, okay, I'm going to rely on the lenient's opinion and I'm going to put it back. It's okay. But if there's no blech, there's no room for leniency. There must be a blech and it must be warm. So for whatever reason it became cold, it has no warmth anymore. It was off for a long time and it has no warmth, then you don't have the option of returning it. And that's nothing to do with cooking. It could be, it's dry and cold, it's totally cooked, but if it's lost its warmth, then you don't have the option to return it. What's the story with a hot plate? So, a hot plate, people don't cook in a hot plate, but a hot plate gets very hot, and the hot plates that I checked out in the store, and you are able to cook water on it. Therefore, there is an issue that you cannot put food on it on Shabbos. Let me explain. What is the reason? What is the problem with putting food on the blech that was not there before Shabbos? Well, then you took your hand off. What is the reason? Well, let's go in order. What's the purpose of the blech? The purpose of the blech is the purpose why we have a blech is Shem Yichatim. The blech, the reason why we have a blech is because Shema Yichatim, which means in English it means you might stir the coals, you might make the fire higher, so the blech is there to remind you, Shema Yichatim. The reason why we need all the conditions, so we'll write conditions for returning, okay? The conditions for returning, the reason is, because anyone knows what the reason is? What's the reason why you get all these conditions? Take it off the five, that you dust, and this. What's it all about? Do you remember? Huh? Very good, because Nira Kimavashim, it looks like you're cooking. Nira, it appears Kimavashim, like you're cooking. If you don't keep those conditions, it looks like you're cooking, because you took a pot off the blech, pot is on the blech, you took it off, took your hand off, look at now putting it back. It looks like you're cooking. You keep your hand on it, and you have das, and now how does someone know what you're thinking? But the idea of looking like cooking is not strictly near, it appears Kimavashal. Got it? This that appears like cooking is not Marisayan, because people are going to suspect you. It's the whole idea of the way it appears in itself, even for yourself, how it looks. That's why you need das, attention. No one sees what's in your mind, but it's the whole picture of what it looks like. So if you don't have all those conditions, the impression, the way that the act, it's an act that appears like you're cooking, which could lead you to cooking Shabbos. So that's when you know those conditions. Now let's apply it to a hot plate. With a hot plate, when you talk about a hot plate, so you talk about a hot plate, the hot plate is not everybody knows. You can't make it higher. I'm talking about the hot plate you can't make higher. Some hot plates can make higher, there's different settings. Some of them is one setting, you can't make it higher. If you can't make it higher, then there's no concern of Shem Yechata, that you might make the fire higher. So you don't need a blech for the hot plate. If you want to put food on the hot plate, that's why you don't need a blech. But it's needed in the mashal, because even though people don't cook on a hot plate usually, when you are able to cook, it gets pretty hot, and you are able to cook, so that's why to put food on the fire on Shabbos, you can't put food on a hot plate on Shabbos. Meaning, if it was there and you want to put it back, so the hot plate is equivalent to a blech. If it was on the blech, you can put it back, you have all the conditions. But if you want to put food on Shabbos on the hot plate, just like you can't take cold potato kugel dry out of the refrigerator and there's no cooking and put it on the blech, right? The same blech, we need the blech over the fire because it's needed to the mashal. So too, you can't take dry, cold food that's already cooked and put it on the hot plate on Shabbos because needed to the mashal, it looks like you're cooking. Clear?
But you said you don't put dry food on the grill?
That's why you cannot put dry potato kugel. So even though there's no cooking involved, it's already cooked, but still you cannot put it on top of the hot plate, just like you can't put it on a blech. Can I take food? There's no issue of cooking. It's already cooked, it's dry, it's not cooking. Can I put it on top of take it out of the refrigerator, put it on the blech on Shabbos?
That's how I was raised.
On the blech, meaning directly over the fire.
We have a hot plate,
A hot plate, right. So I'm starting, right, so most people have hot plates these days.
yeah,
But the blech is what used to be more common.
yeah.
So the blech is that's why we start discussing the blech. So to take food that is already cooked, it is dry, it's good, to put it on the blech on the fire, take it out of the fridge and put it on the blech, you can't do. Why? Well, we have all these conditions. If you take something off the blech to be allowed to put it back, so of course, if it was not on the blech to start with and it's in the refrigerator, you can't put it on the blech. The same thing is also, you can't put it on a hot plate.
On the left or like directly over the fire or on the left anywhere?
Okay, so when I say blech, I mean the part that's directly over the fire.
Okay,
If it's not directly over the fire, it's moved away, then you have different opinions. Some say if it's, as long as it's not directly over the fire, it's fine. Some say move it away a little more, so it's not getting that, that amount of heat, like if it was, when you have a nice fire and even a pot is right next to it, you could also be bubbling. So some say it should be a little further. But for sure, if it's putting directly over the blech, that is prohibited. And the
you're saying
same
the hot plate is the
the
same.
same thing, exactly.
Even if the hot plate isn't that hot?
So I'm discussing a hot plate that's very hot. So I checked it out in the stores. I spoke to the person there. He told me that the hot plate that they sell gets really hot. It goes like 230 degrees, which means you aren't able to cook water in it. It gets very hot. So you are able to cook. So therefore, you do have this problem needed to Rashi. I mean, you
The
put
hot plate I have, like, you could touch it without burning yourself. It's like not comfortable, but you could touch it without burning.
do you know the temperature?
I don't know the
So
exact.
find out the exact temperature, we good to know. Find out, and then we could
Yeah.
verify it, if it's okay. If it doesn't get too hot,
You can actually like put your hand on it.
really,
Yeah,
could we hand on it?
yeah, like it's warm and like you don't wanna keep it there for more than like. Whatever, if it's
10
like,
10 seconds?
yeah,
Really?
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's not hot.
but it does warm up the food and the longer the food stays there, the more it warms up.
One second, you have a few settings?
No,
It's one setting?
yeah,
Like a broken hot plate.
kind of,
Interesting
it's a
to
very old
know.
hot plate.
Oh, it's fine, interesting to know, yeah, if it's that type of hot plate, then it should be okay. Generally, the hot plates that we have now do become very hot. So that's why generally we teach hot plates is a problem.
Okay,
But if that's the hot plate you have, it should be okay. You can't cook. You can put water there with boil, it's probably not. You-
if it was there for a very long time, then maybe, like a very long time,
You have to find out the temperature.
I can ask my dad.
If you could find out, it'd be interesting to know how it is. Yeah, that was probably would be fine if it doesn't get so hot. Yeah. Okay. Over here. Now, another thing that's important to know is that sometimes people want to warm up challah on the blech. So what do? You take challah, sometimes it's frozen, sometimes you just want it to become warm. And you put it on the blech, and what part of the blech you put it on? We said if you don't put it directly over the fire, just remove it a few inches away from the fire, it's going to be fine. We said before, it's okay to put food not directly over the blech. If that's the case, it would seem to be that you could take challah and put it on the blech. But there could be a problem, because if you're putting challah directly on the blech, not on a plate, not on a tissue, just put it directly on the blech, what happens to challah or bread that you put in a hot place directly on heat?
It hardens.
It becomes like toast.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like you're toasting your bread. So just like you cannot take something that's boiled and bake it, you cannot take challah that's baked and boil it. Could you take challah and put it into hot pot of soup and boil it? No, you can't. It's a machlokes, but you're not supposed to. But why? Because you're boiling it. It hasn't been boiled yet. You're boiling it for the first time. You're not allowed to do it. So taking challah and putting it in a place that's going to come like toast is questionable. So you want to avoid. So if you're going to warm up challah, you're going to put it on a plate, on a napkin where it doesn't touch the hot surface, so it won't toast. What happens on Shabbos if, and this does happen, it is common, when you get more experience with preparing the fire, it won't happen. It hasn't happened to me for years. It used to happen. Comes Friday night, and the fire is out. Why is the fire out? Because if you make the fire too small, it can go out. So who thinks about it during the week? If it goes out, put it back on. For now, you get the fire for Shabbos. On a practical note, don't make a tiny little fire. You're very likely to go out. But let's say the fire goes out. What happens? And what happens to your child? That's it, no challenge, done. So there is a leniency from the English Moshe Feinstein. He says, just like you got to take off the fire with attention and then put it back, he says, being that you made a fire and the food is still very hot, so it's in that category, and you can take the pot, if you have a neighbor, and ask them if you can put your pot on their fire and pick up the pot while it's still very hot. So it's still like a continuation. and then go to your neighbor and put it on their blech. But if it's not hot anymore, it's not hot, it's gonna be bishul also, right, fine, but point is, let's say it's dry potato kernel. If it's not hot anymore, then obviously you don't have that leniency, because being that it should be warm is a very important condition.
Oh, if that does happen though, and like it's a gas stove, then you obviously have.
Oh, right, yeah,
turn it
very
off
good,
or-
good.
So-
Very important. If it does go out, make sure you shut it off because it's dangerous. And besides, the malach involved is minuscule. It's prohibited. You know, if it wouldn't be for danger, you wouldn't do it. You're not talking about an issa min al-Torah, a biblical prohibition. So it could be it's not. It's very even if it's rabbinical prohibition, it's not clear what it is. But in any case, it is dangerous. So if the gas goes out, you shut it off. Now, there is an interesting halacha, that is, you're allowed to put food on top of a pot. So though you cannot put food back onto the blech unless you have all these conditions that we discussed, but you're allowed to put food on top of a pot. And to put food on top of a pot, you don't need any conditions. Why not?
It doesn't feel like it's not the normal
You
way of
just
doing it.
learned to Shabbos today. Very good. Excellent.
What do you mean by on top of the pot?
I have a pot of chalk on the fire, and I have a plate with food I want to warm up, or another pot. I want to put on top of that pot.
So like it's bigger and like that.
A plate, more practical would be like a plate of food that I want to warm up. I want to put it on top of the pot.
Okay, so the plate is us, okay, yeah.
So now you're able to fit it onto on the cover. It's a cover that's flat, whatever, you're able to put it on. So for me to put food onto the blech, again, what it means on the blech is not very clear, there's different opinions. But if it's on top of the fire, or close to the fire, it's an issue, if it's a little too close to the fire. But to put on top of a pot is okay. And the reason is, like you said, because it's not needed in the vashal. The reason why you can't put on a blech without conditions is because it looks like cooking. It's not, but you don't cook on top of another pot. That's not how you cook.
Question.
You get it? So there's no problem putting on top of the pot. As long put food on top of a pot of food. The pot is on the blech. The pot can be even directly over the fire without a blech. Let's say a pot on the fire, there's no blech. So you can't return the pot. But I could put other food on top of that pot, there's no problem. Cold food. Now, the only thing is be careful, be aware of something. And that is, if it's a big fire, and you're putting the food directly on the pot, how are you putting the food on the pot? You're putting it's on a plate, or you're taking the actual food and putting it directly there? If you take something that's, let's say, a piece of potato kernel that's wet, it's very wet, and you're putting it mamish on the pot, and the pot has a
That's like a
nice,
black.
huh?
That's like a black.
No, on the pot.
But the pot has anything in it?
Pot has food inside. It's not like a blech. Pot has food inside. And you're putting it on top of a pot, and it's touching the lid. So you're listening. You're not putting it on a plate. You're putting it directly on the cover. If the pot is extremely hot, because you have a nice fire burning there, the top, the lid of the pot, the cover, could be very, very hot. Now, if you put food directly on it, not on a plate, and it's wet, it could cook. So you have to be careful. You have to know if it's a big fire, and it's wet, and it's touching the cover. So you could be putting it on a plate, and then putting it on top of the pot. You could putting the food directly touching the cover. That could be bishul. It could. So you have to be aware of this.
Can the cover be considered as a plate? Like, what's the difference between the cover and the plate?
No, my issue is that the cover is very hot. That's my issue. My issue is because if the cover is extremely hot, and I'm taking food, and I'm just taking the piece of, just the piece of potato kugel, the way it is, and it's very wet, and I'm just putting it on the cover, let's say.
Okay.
I mean, people don't do that. They'll put a napkin on it, but even a napkin is very thin. It goes right through. If it's very wet, there's a possibility, depending on how hot it is, how big the fire is, that the liquid could cook.
Yeah.
So that's something to be aware of. So
If you put the plate on the.
if you put it on a plate, for the heat to go through the plate, I don't think it's likely. The likelihood is, I never really tested it 1,000%,
Okay.
but it's all assumptions, but it's something that you have to be aware yourself, that there is that, usually if it's a plate, not a plastic, it's more of a, like a dish, china, for the heat to go through the china. The china plate is whatever material it is, plastic goes right through, and it's on top of a pot, and the heat to go through and make that thing hot to the extent of Yahtzee lettuce, of some sort of Yahtzee lettuce. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think so, but it could be tested. But if you're putting it directly on the pot, I think there's a big concern when it's actually touching, even with a napkin, because a napkin is just, heat goes right through it. That's if it's wet, not because something that's dry, there's no bishop. Something that's wet, or let's say it became, it's not wet, it's potato kernel, but it has moisture in there. And it's so wet that if it was to touch something else, when you touch it with your hand is wet enough to make something else wet. That's the criterion to know what's considered wet in regards to cooking on Shabbos. Then if you want to touch this potato kernel with your hand will become wet enough to make something else wet. Then that's considered wet. And if it's already cooled off, it's a cold piece, and you're putting it in a place where it could cook, you're not allowed to do it. Now, there's something you need to know, and that is, you can't put something in a place where it has the ability to cook, which means I cannot put food in a place that has the ability to cook, even if I don't plan to leave it there. So let's say I'm going to take, have this very wet piece of potato, usually it's not wet, let's say it's very wet potato kernel. I'm going to put it on a blech. I won't put it directly on the blech because I'm not allowed to. I'll put it close to the blech, next to the blech, on the counter, let's say. But if I was to leave it there, it will cook. It's so hot, that place, that it's able to cook, and I'll transgress on Mishal. But I'll be careful. I'll make sure not to leave it there for too long. I'll leave it there for a minute or two till it gets warm, and I'll remove it so it won't cook. How about that? Is that okay? Is that the question? I'll be careful. I'm putting something in a place that potentially I could transgress Shabbos if I leave it there, but I'll make sure I'll remove it there before it has the ability to cook. Because I just want it to be warm. Is that okay?
It could get that hot when you just mix it.
Let's say it's possible. It's possible. Or you're putting it on the blech, not directly over the fire. In our opinions, according to my father, he says if you put it on the blech and it's not directly over the fire, you don't have the whole issue of all the conditions for the blech because it's not directly over the fire. Many people say it should be further back. But let's say you're putting it in a place where you're allowed to put in terms of blech, but if you leave it there, it's going to cook. But you won't leave it there. I'll remove it before it cooks.
What if you forget?
Exactly. You have to hammer on the nail. Exactly. That's the problem. And the Chachamim tell us It's not just that it's not a good idea, it's awesome, it's prohibited. Chacham prohibited it because you might forget.
For wet food, right, you're talking
Huh?
about? For wet food, you're talking about? Or
For something that,
also.
no, anything that could become bishul, like wet. Usually it's wet. It could- hypothetically, it could be by dry also. I mean, if it needs to cook, whatever, but usually it's more by liquid. Anything that if you were to forget it, if you were to leave it there, it will become cooked. You're not allowed to leave it there because you might forget. So there is a leniency, and then is if you took out something very extremely cold from the freezer or the refrigerator, and you just want to remove the chill, it's not like you want to make it warm even, just it shouldn't be freezing, it's so cold. And it's for a person, some also say the condition has to be also that it's for a person who needs it, he's not so well. And already some say even if it's not like that, there's different views how lean we can be. But the idea is, if you're taking it out, if you're putting it on the blood, not to create warmth, but just it shouldn't be freezing, there is a leniency. But some say this leniency is only if it's for, like, for someone who's not necessarily sick, but the cold food is not good for him. So then you have this leniency, and you can put it in that place, and you're going to remember to remove it.
I have a quick
Yes.
question. So back to the pot where you put it in the pot. I had a situation that was similar. We once forgot to plug in the blood, but we had a hot water urn, right? So what we did was we took the
Plug it up. You mean the hot plate?
the hot plate. We forgot to plug in the hot plate. We had a hot water urn, so we took the cover off the hot water urn and put a glass like baking tray on top of it instead.
On Shabbos, you put a glass baking tray on, you open up the lid of the hot water, and you put a glass baking tray.
That
On
didn't have
Shabbos.
anything in it, yeah. Is that not allowed?
There was water inside,
Yeah,
so on Shabbos, you put a glass baking tray on top of the hot water.
yeah, so that we use that instead of the hot plate.
Okay, so
Because we didn't have a hot plate.
it's a very good question. We know, let's explain what the question is. The question is, you gotta put something on top of another pot. Question is, how about if you remove the cover of the pot and then put something on top of it?
I mean, that would be the same thing with the plate, no? With the pot, you said put a plate on top of the pot.
So I was discussing putting food on top of the pot, meaning on top of the cover of the pot. Now, what you're asking is, if I understand correctly, that instead of putting food on top of the pot, stuff which is the cover of the pot, you're gonna remove the cover
You're kind of covering it with something else.
and you're putting something else over it.
Yeah.
That I have to look into, that I'm not sure, because generally you can put food on top of another pot, because you don't cook on top of a pot, but here, you're removing the cover, and then you're putting something else, you're putting like something to cover it.
Mhm.
I have to
So
look
it's
into
flat,
it.
because the actual cover of the hot water urn is like round. So we put something flat on top of it so that we can use that instead of as a hot plate.
Oh, you put an empty,
Yeah,
you put an empty,
So
flat
yeah,
plate.
sort of.
Oh, I thought you put food, I thought you put something with food on it. No, you
not
put an
yet.
empty tray.
Yeah, and then we ended up, when we needed to heat.
So
them-
that became the cover of the pot.
Yeah,
Oh, got it, okay, good.
so that became the cover of the pot, and then we used that cover of the pot as a hot plate. As kind of like a makeshift hot plate.
Yeah, you changed the cover.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when you did it, it was already cooked
The food-
because the water.
Yeah, the water was.
The water was already cooked.
We had the water 24/7.
The water was cooked, so you just remove the cover, put a different, something flat,
Yeah.
now you have a new cover,
Yeah.
now you're putting food on top, but yeah, it's very good. Yeah, that was good, yeah. I know you're talking about using the food, and that was questionable, because
No.
the food is not directly on the cover, but on the pot without a cover, and that already,
Because we use it as a.
yeah, very good, very good. Now, there is another leniency that according to some opinions, you can do on Shabbos, not everyone agrees to it, but, I see great authorities who said it's acceptable. And that is, then they say you can take a pot, an empty pot, and turn it upside down over the blech, and put the food on top. So let's explain. We're saying you can put food on top of a pot, which means on top of the cover of the pot. There's no problem with the blech. So now the question is, you're saying you can put food on top of a pot because no one cooks on top of a pot, right? Okay. Let's say I want to put food on a blech. I'm not allowed to put food on a blech. I don't have the conditions. Okay, but I can put it on top of a pot, right? I'll take an empty pot, put it on the blech, turn it upside down. This could be flat. There's no food in there, no problem. It makes it easier. Turn it upside down, make it flat. And then put food on top of that. Is that okay? So there's some opinions who say it's okay. Why some opinions? Why not everybody? We said you can put food on top of the pot. Why only some opinions? Is this like very simple? It's like, yeah, it's the same, yeah, what's the issue? Is it like obvious that you're allowed, or just like, no, it's that? Do you see any problem over here? Is there any issue that perhaps you shouldn't be allowed? What's the reason why you can put the food on top of a pot? Because no one cooks on top, that's not how you cook. You don't put the food on top of a pot. That's not where you cook. You definitely have a pot with food. When the pot is empty, it's a little different. Just like you don't put the food on top of a blech, because you could cook, heat goes through. When you have an empty pot and you're putting food on top of it, it's not exactly like putting food on top of a pot that has food in it. Yes, people still don't cook that way, but it's not really exactly the same. So it's not like, oh, it's obvious, it's exactly, no, it's not exactly the same thing. There are opinions who say it's okay. Not inside the pot, okay? You can't keep the pot straight on the block and put food inside. No. You turn the pot upside down, on top, and inside it's ready. No, get it? That you see, it's obvious difference. It's upside down. You're putting it on top because the pot is upside down. It's accepted. Not all Rabbanim agree to this, but there are great Rabbanim who do accept it. Is it better to avoid it? Yes. I wouldn't do it. Do I remember last time I spoke to my father, he didn't agree with this leniency. But there are Rabbanim who do accept it, and not just Rabbanim who know. They have sources. So it is something that's acceptable if you wish to be lenient. If you wish to be strict, it's good to be strict. But if you're desperate and you're looking for a way out to take care of yourself, like we said, Einik Shabbos, yeah. You could be lenient. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Shabbos, everyone.
Oh, I have another.
Yes.
We forget to plug in the